Anakin and his friends just heard an incredible secret. Darth Vader may have retrieved Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from the original Death Star. The lost weapon may be hidden in Vader's abandoned fortress on the planet Vajun, and Luke Skywalker agrees that it must be recovered. Now Anakin and his friends, along with Tion and the Jedi Master Ikrit, are headed off to Vajun to find the legendary fortress. Untold dangers await them, for no one knows what secrets still lie within those ancient walls. Even abandoned, it is a stronghold of dark power. But the biggest danger may not have shown its face, for if they know about Obi-Wan's saber, who else does?
Welcome back, younglings, to the Padawan Library, the Star Wars Junior Novel podcast. I'm Levi Paratic. With me, as always, Tim May.
Hello!
And joining us for a second week, Mel Lyon.
Yes, second week in a row.
Yep. And
fifth week total, or whatever.
Yes.
This year.
For this year.
Probably more than that, actually.
You might be in the 10. You might be in edging into Steve Martin territory.
Really.
10 timers club. You know.
And this week we are celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week.
Oh,
give it up.
It is. Holy crap! It is.
I know, not intentionally.
Okay. We'll
and
get
we
into
have
why that's crazy.
A very teacher-laden episode.
Oh man, yeah, I didn't even think of that. Okay, all right. So this week we are discussing Book 5 of Junior Jedi Knights, Vader's Fortress, and so we decided to discuss a pretty obscure Australian. It's actually an Australian-American co-production, but it's mostly an Australian movie from 1985 called Fortress, which I had recommended to me on, I believe, the Pure Cinema podcast, which is just a ridiculous. It's the official podcast, I think, of the New Beverly Cinema.
Okay,
LA.
all right.
So they recommend tons of just all kinds of obscure shit.
Who is the host of that?
Brian Saar, do you know that guy?
No, I don't.
I don't know him. I don't want to I had occasional correspondence with him back in way back in the day when I did something else with my life. Nice guy from my interactions. But so I occasionally listen to his show. And I think that was maybe one of the episodes that Tarantino was on or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But they were talking about this movie, and I was like, this movie actually sounds vaguely interesting. And I like Australian genre movies from this period. I'm into that. And the only way that we could watch it easily, you can get it on DVD, but it's like $30 or $40. The only way to watch it easily is there's a YouTube rip of, I don't know, a 10th generation.
It was a video CD.
That's probably true. It seems that quality. There was also so this movie Fortress. If listeners want to watch the movie, you can find it if you just search Fortress 1985 on YouTube. It's the first thing. It has subtitles. I don't remember what language, but it's in English. And then there's another version of the movie that looks like it's just copied probably from the DVD that looks good, but is like a dub of the movie, like in another language.
Oh, really?
So I was like annoyed. I was like, couldn't somebody at least like just download both of these and do a
mesh the two?
But I will say you texted me earlier today talking about how it looked terrible.
Yeah, we almost like tried to find like an HD version on YouTube, which was the version that was like in 47 different parts.
Yeah, it was like a playlist in multiple
so
parts.
It's like not worth it.
Now, granted, we
watched it on the old TV.
Yeah, we have an old tube TV that we have a Roku hooked up to.
Oh my!
So I can't wait.
So you watch it through the YouTube app on that?
Yes,
on
absolutely.
that, and so it blows it up. And I think the fact that we blew the image up so large, I think it's a super low res image.
It's like 270 or something.
Yeah, it's really low, and we blew it up. And there were times where it's like, am I looking at a painting? Like I don't feel like
it
I'm
was
looking
really
at.
like an opening and like the closing shot were very much like,
what am I?
I don't know what I'm looking at.
But
I don't know.
But I know if we watched it on a smaller screen, it would probably have been better. Which is what you said. You said it was totally watchable.
I watched it on my laptop and I found it watchable. I mean,
that would be perfect.
The quality was terrible, but like it was. It was not like impossible to track like the action or anything.
Right.
So let's get into the movie itself a little bit.
We have Teacher Sally.
There's a teacher. Okay, so it takes place in some, hillbilly Australian town.
Which also, recurring subject in recent episodes of Padawan Library. Australia. Padawan Library goes down under.
That's true. I forgot about Rescuers Down Under.
We should have made it a whole Australian month.
Yeah, a whole
I'm actually, I'm a pretty big fan of this era of Australian genre movies, like the... Like the Brian Trenchard Smith movies, like Dead End Drive-In and BMX Bandits.
Bandits, very fun.
Great movie. Nicole Kidman's first movie, a masterpiece.
I described that movie in my Letterboxd review as the Jules and Jim of BMX.
Oh, I agree. Oh my god!
I know, because you have like the love triangle going on there, and it's.
That's a delightful. That's actually That's a good movie. People should check that. And I actually, this is what I'll say about Fortress. Yeah, so it's about a teacher who teaches at a very small schoolhouse to the point there's
one room,
a one classroom schoolhouse with multiple ages. There's only 9 students total, so they're all in the same room, and she's teaching all of them at different levels. And she. And she's teaching them, and she's like actually showing great classroom management skills. She's not like being too soft, but she's also not being too mean.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job. I gotta say, Teacher Appreciation Week for her.
She's great. She's badass teacher.
Yeah, she might move aside Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a terrible teacher.
He's such a bad teacher.
Indy lets the TAs do all the work, which is fine.
If you really want to learn archaeology, you gotta get out of the library. Right? Am I right, guys? Yeah.
Oh, God, I love that.
That classic Indy line.
Oh, man. So
she's badass.
She's pretty cool. So she basically then very, very shortly, this happens quick, a guy in a Santa Claus mask shows up. Or not the Santa Claus mask guy first. It's...
one of the birds.
Yeah, there's like
a duck mask, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He has a duck mask.
The other 3 are animals.
Yeah, there's a duck mask,
a mouse, and a cat.
And then Father Christmas.
Yeah.
And so they're the 4 criminals, but one of them shows up with a gun. And it's like, get outside, like we're taking you hostage. So she actually handles this incredibly well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy.
Doesn't freak out at all, and is just like, okay, well, like you kids stay here. I'll go out and talk to them. They kidnap all of them, throw them in the back of a van, and they're off.
She makes sure all the kids grab their lunches.
Yeah, makes sure they grab all their lunches, and she's just like, let me grab the first aid kit. And she like puts a couple extra things in the first aid kit, and then basically they drive them. There's like a brief escape attempt, and like they're pretty scary. They're like obviously like this is like an exploitation movie, so there's like they're pretty sleazy. They're like teacher looks good for a gangbang and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Which, I mean, they're sleazebags. I'm fine with it, and ultimately nothing happened, so whatever. But, like,
it could have been a lot
I
worse.
said to her, if anything happens to these children or the teacher, I'm going to be so mad at Tim.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie. You can
And there was, like, the one point pretty earlier on when they, like, stop the van and they all go out to, like, you know, piss and shit.
Yeah.
And
I think they only piss.
I meant, like, and stuff, not, like, and shit. But anyway, and that's, like, when one kid tries to run.
Yeah,
and
she tells Tommy to run.
Yeah.
And go get somebody. Yeah.
And poor Tommy, we'll talk about him later.
But then there's, like, the part where, like, they hold, like, the gun to, like, the one super little kid's head.
Toby. Yeah, they, like, grab Toby by the arm, and it's, like, this super, like, scary scene where she, like, the teacher then has to call Tommy back, or else they will kill Toby. She has to find Tommy in 10 seconds, or Toby is dead.
What's the director's name again? Arch Nicholson?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, Arch Nicholson.
This guy never did anything else, but I have to say, like, you guys probably didn't get a great look at, like, the directing, but I think it's a pretty well-directed movie. Pretty
I think so,
totally.
too.
100%. Like, working with kids can be really, like, hit or miss, and, like, they are all very, like, good characters.
So, anyway, they go to a,
they drop them off, they make them go into a cave. What?
Okay, now there is an element of sleaze to the whole movie, subtle sleaze to the whole movie, and I think it pays off at the end, but one of the students has a jerking off problem. Do you know this teacher, this kid? He's got the greasy hair.
At the very beginning, like,
he's jerking off in the bathroom, and the
one
kid's like,
I actually didn't really pick up on that, but I guess
stunt your growth. like, what else would he be doing that would stunt his growth?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, the sleaziest part of the movie is the constant hovering threat of rape.
Of
rape.
Right.
Which is very of it, like, and this isn't, like, I think that can be done well or badly, depending. Ultimately, this, I think, inches on the, like, it's done okay side. I don't want to say it's, like, great. Like, it's definitely, like,
as
like,
far
anytime,
as
like,
rape implications go, I think this is handled pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you know, it's something that you can depict. I don't have, like, I just mean, like, and it's possible to do it, you know, in a more interesting way. This movie, like, because the tone is pretty light by and large, considering the premise, like, whenever that hits, it does kind of screech the movie to a halt in, like, a weird way.
Well, I think also, like, there's that because, like, it's remarked on early, there's this ever-looming threat of, like, will it happen? And I think, like, that in its own self is, like, a stick of dynamite. Like,
well, there's also an older girl to the student.
Right, a teenage girl.
Which, actually, I'll say, this stuff is handled well. The relationship between the teacher and the student is, I think, actually handled pretty well. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all very, it's not, like, a dialogue, really, but, like...
Right, but, like, the teacher is, like, ever, like, aware... She's actually ever aware of most of the students' needs, like, you know, and she doesn't have to do it, like, verbally, which I think is, like, pretty. And, like,
there's a moment a little later where, like, they have to swim, and if you want to, like, go beat by beat, we can get to it, but, like, they want to keep their clothes dry, so I mean, this is a little weird, but whatever, like, the teacher's gonna take off her bra and then notices that the teenage girl is uncomfortable with taking off her clothes, and so she leaves it on or whatever. Like, there's, like, good little character beat moments that do have to do with that a little, that whole looming threat a little. I just think that when the actual threat occurs, which actually they never, like, get close to actually doing it.
Right.
No.
But the threat is made multiple times. Anytime it's risen, then the movie just screeches to a weird halt because the movie's otherwise kind of, like, again, fun. Like, the tone is kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then especially, like, when we get to, like, the climax, like, that's such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Where it could have been, just fun.
Yeah. And, like, also,
ahead.
too, like, as a teacher, she keeps it interesting. Like, she keeps the children engaged the entire time, either through song and just the fact that they're going on a hike, an adventure. She's always taking care of the children's needs, because like there's some kids who lose their lunch, and she makes sure that everybody eats. She's a phenomenal teacher.
Yeah.
I agree. Although maybe questionable thing happens at the end, but so they're trapped in this cave. Then she and one of the older students go and find a way out of the cave where they have to swim underneath like a thing, and they get out the other end, and that's actually a very like kind of tense sequence, because you're like, are these guys going to be on the other side?
Yeah.
All that stuff. That's done very well.
And how's she gonna get 9 children
right,
under
even
this
just
whole thing?
the whole anytime somebody has to like hold their breath underwater in a movie, it makes me very nervous.
That's also pays off, because one of the children panic, and because she panics, like the teacher gets disoriented. Another student has to come in and save both of them.
Sid.
Yeah,
Sid,
good old Sid.
And so yeah, then they like get out. They seemingly are safe. They see the nearest house is several miles away, so they start walking towards this house. And when they get to the house, they go up. There's an old lady, and everybody's like, "Oh, thank God! Let's use her. Can I use your phone?"
Yeah.
And then nope, the kidnappers realized what happened, and they are waiting at the house. And like this sequence is like intense, because you have because essentially the old woman and her husband get murdered because like they get too in the way,
and then, a whole fish tank of fish is also murdered too.
Of course.
As soon as like anytime you see a fish tank in a movie, you're just like, unless this is The Graduate, that tank is going down.
True. God, that's a great sequence in that movie. Anyway, I should watch that again. Anyway, there's but basically at this point, then this is the kind of the second big set piece. They put all the kids out in this barn. They lock the door, and then like some of the kidnappers leave, and they leave one guy there. And so then they like lure the guy in basically, and they're like, "Do you want to like eat?" Because he's hungry. This is where like some of the like it's very goofy, because like they're great. They're solving problems together. She's teaching him lessons. Like that's I think the vibe. That's what they're going for. But like then like there's sometimes when the plans are a little too like easy, and then there's like
Like, why would this guy come into the barn with them? And
I
want to get warm by the fire.
Yeah, they got a fire going. They're singing songs, and they're like, "Do you want to come join us?" And he's like, "Okay," And
well, then, they hear them arguing outside, so like clearly like some of the kidnappers are like, nobody was supposed to die here. Like, what's going on? Like there's some division there going on. So they're trying to exploit that. Basically, then the kids conk him over the head. There's very like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which I love. But like, and then they escape basically, and
But Tommy gets shot.
Oh yeah, because the guy
Tommy gets shot, and that was a crazy moment.
Yeah, when they conk him over the head, the guy has like a loaded sawed-off shotgun. And like it fires off and it hits Tommy in the shoulder, and you're like,
and it was like, because the one kid was like, "Tommy's dead,"
and whenever the teacher goes
really
over there,
like Tommy is dead.
I thought Tommy was dead for sure.
Yeah, they all thought Tommy was dead. It was crazy. But Tommy lived. Tommy was
That's
okay.
When you were like, "Oh shit, this is."
But
like,
you know what's
real.
funny too is because Tommy, like when they were engaging the kidnapper, Tommy was the one who was asking about the gun. And when Tommy is conscious later, basically the teacher like makes him. She's like, "Well, that's what you get when you're interested in guns, Tommy." Like,
yeah, I know. Well, Australia knew what was up 10 years after this when they had this big mass shooting and they actually outlawed guns. Anyway, so but this movie, back to the movie, they wind up then traveling on foot. They wind up at another cave, and they stay in this cave overnight, waiting essentially for the kidnappers to show back up. And
they do.
They decide they're gonna fight this time.
Yeah, they show up. and the teenage girl has gone like wandering off somewhere. Mm-hmm. So like we don't know where she is, and the teacher is like worried about it and starts calling her name, and then you hear the voice of one of the kidnappers. Norel, I think, is the teenage girl.
Yeah, Norel, I think, yeah.
And so she's calling out for Norel. One of the kidnappers is like, "Oh, Norel," like basically just like, you know,
mm-hmm. It's like the jungle basically is like where they're at too,
and
like,
they're up on like kind of a high
outback
perch,
mm-hmm.
and like these kidnappers are down here. So we know then very soon that Norel. They cut to her, and she like winds up hiding under this rock and like seemingly like out of view of anybody. So we kind of know she's safe at that point. And then there's a final kind of showdown between the teacher, the kids, and the last two remaining.
Yeah, because when the teacher goes out looking for Norel, one of the kidnappers finds her. So he chases her back to the cave where the kids who have been preparing to fight have like a speared moat or a trench like around the cave. And
they spent the previous night building weapons, like carving spears,
like sharpening sticks.
And so there's a tussle between like the teacher and the one kidnapper, and they both fall off the ledge onto the spikes, and like the teacher is saved by like falling
she falls
on the guy.
Him, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a moment where, let's talk about when the teacher actually like breaks down and starts crying.
That was like after the whole like swimming the kids back, right?
I think. Or
is it like when they're in the barn?
I think it's when they're in the barn.
Yeah.
Because the whole time, anytime the kids cry, she's like, "Don't cry! Like you don't need to be crying right now. Crying won't solve anything." And then when she finally like breaks down because she thinks she's made so many mistakes so far, because she believes she's not without fault. That's when the kids come around her and just like, "It's okay, it's okay."
I know they all bond. So.
And this movie was so high tension to me that like when the teacher broke down and started crying, I shed a few tears. I was just like, oh man, this movie is emotional. This movie is tense. So anyway, the one kidnapper dies. The teacher goes back to the cave, and the kids celebrate that like they killed one of the kidnappers, which is wild. And then we're down to one, Father Christmas, who is the baddest of them all.
Yeah, he's the ringleader.
Mm-hmm. You know. And basically, he sees that they killed the one, and he's got his shotgun, and he's like, fuck it, I'm charging into this cave, and I am taking all of them out. And of course, he runs into the cave. They have a tripwire. He trips. He goes down. All of the children swarm him with spears and stab him repeatedly.
And there's like a shot, like from his perspective, basically, where it's like all the kids like taking turns at him. It's like that scene at the end of Shaun of the Dead with the jukebox. Like,
and like they cut to his eyes too. Like we'd never seen his face until this point, and like they cut to his eyes as he's being stabbed.
Yeah, it's wild
which is
stuff.
Super intense.
And again, it's pretty crazy. And then they cut basically that back to the schoolhouse. Or in the outside, she's reading them a story, like back to normal, and then like this police detective comes out and is just like, "Hey, like we found, we found the last body, and it doesn't quite line up with what you told us. Basically, like there's no way animals did all this damage to the and basically her and the kids surround the police detective and are like." You fucking really gonna like what the fuck you gonna do? Like you see what we did to that body? We can do that to your body too, bitch. Like that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
It is such a weird
I know.
like swerve for the movie to take. I feel like this ties into what I was saying. Like I think this is like actually considering it's a movie about a classroom full of children getting kidnapped, it's like a kind of a kid's adventure movie.
Yeah.
Well,
it becomes very Lord of the Flies at the end, and it's like a
which is not the tone in the early going at all. Like, and so I don't think that's
a little bit of a setup with like Sid killing the fox or whatever, and then like the other kid like spitting on it. Like, there's some setup, and she does say something about like. Animals are not here to be mutilated by humans.
It's spit on,
yeah.
That's true. Mm-hmm. I'm not like, it's not a massive criticism. I just think, I do think the first hour of this movie is like surprisingly like really good.
It's so good.
And then like I think the climax is like fine, but like it kind of ultimately concludes in like the way you would expect this movie to conclude from reading the synopsis. And, like, I feel like the first hour is a lot more surprising. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, where it's like, I actually like this tone. It feels like the more stock exploitation movie ending to me than, like, that doesn't really fit, like, the movie.
Yeah, the ending is, like, almost like a joke. Like a twisted kind of joke.
I can see why Quentin likes this movie.
Well, he didn't like the ending either.
Oh, he didn't? Wow.
No, yeah, which was surprising.
That's very him ending.
I actually, sure. We don't need to get into that, but Rachel Ward, the lead, I want to talk about her. She's great in this movie, like, and she was a British actress who spent most of her career in Australia. She was in a movie called Road Games. I don't know if you've seen that. That movie's really good. That's worth seeing. But and like I think.
Oh wow, she was in Peter Rabbit.
She was. That's her most recent film acting. She's in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. The Steve Martin movie, which I really like, How to Get Ahead in Advertising, Night School, which is like a pretty good slasher, with an incredible one sheet, like just a beautiful poster. Used to Hayne and me and
I know, I'm familiar with the poster.
Friend of the show, used to live together, and we had the poster. It was great. I paid for that poster. I believe it still hangs in his house, interestingly.
Wow, you should go get that back, Tim.
I don't need it. Anyway, but I'm glad we watched this, and like I do like this kind of era in general, the kind of post Mad Max, like period of Australian genre movies, and the same. But they so this Rachel Ward is pretty cool. She's and like just a really like commanding lead performance for this kind of movie, which I was impressed by.
Yes, she'd get Teacher of the Year award in my opinion. So
okay,
she is.
Yeah, no, she should get the Golden Apple Award. Is that a thing outside of Pennsylvania?
I don't know. It might not be.
Is that just a PA thing? I'm not sure, yeah. But... yeah, I gotta say, like, the professors in education programs in the colleges of America should show that opening teaching sequence before the kidnapping to be like, this is what classroom management looks like. This is a solid,
right?
and then
she can do it with like all these different age kids, you know.
Very impressive. So
yeah, she's from kindergarten to high school, like you know.
Yeah, it's wild, you know, like because there's two like teens that are like probably like 16, 17. So like there's like, and then there's like little kids, like, so very impressive. Keeps them all together through a very stressful situation, traumatic situation. So shout out to Rachel Ward. The actress, she's the one who did it.
Toby definitely needed counseling following this traumatic event, I'm sure.
Well, actually, who knows? Because now they're, like, stronger, like, you know...
Yeah, they're not going to need any counseling from, like, brutally maiming a dead body.
No, because they're, like, cool with it.
They're like, hey, he tried to hurt us.
Like, do it again.
It's not even that they kill him.
They're not scared, at least.
Like, it's not that they kill him, it's that, like... They kill him and then just keep, like... It's wild. Like, you know, I get what you're saying about the Tarantino thing. We won't get into that movie, which I love, but it's like... But it's just... I think there's, like, it doesn't... I said it's a well-directed movie, and I think it is. The sequences are well-staged. But the other part of directing is, like, managing... tone, right? And I think this movie has a good handle on that for the most part early on, and then that's my problem with the ending, is that it really veers off tonally, like, and he's not
whether you and again, I don't want to like open up a can of worms. I'm just saying, whether you like the ending of, say, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or not, like, he's in control of that. He's building towards something the whole time. So, like, if you even if you just like think it's not good, like on a writing level, like as a director, he's keeping that in check because he's a great director. Whereas this guy, obviously not like a great director, but he does do a good job staging the sequences. So I want to give shout out to Arch Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
And it also is different, like on TV. I feel like for TV this
yeah, because this was a HBO movie.
Well, in America.
So I guess it would have shown.
Yeah,
would it have shown all at once, or
it would have been on HBO.
Yeah, it was on HBO. This was back. HBO used to mostly make movies at this time, like TV movies. But this wasn't. This was always planned as a theatrical like movie in Australia, and then in the U.S. it was going to be it aired on HBO, and I think they probably put it out on tape too. But there's a interesting thing about this that they wanted to cast an American actress, but the Australian film industry was just like, no, nice try. And then so Rachel Ward was the compromise because she was a British actress, but she was she was living in Australia, so like they were like, okay, we can do that.
Well, this should be on the Max.
Yeah, they should throw it on HBO Max. I mean,
especially for Teachers Week.
Yeah,
I that's my thing with HBO Max, and I think the selection is very strong overall, movie-wise. But I do think, like, the dream of, if you are a studio that has a long, like, a decades-long history with a massive library, the dream of having your own streaming service is ultimately having the whole library available.
Mm-hmm.
And,
right.
Like, as there's lots of great movies on HBO Max and lots of movies that are older, so like I appreciate that it's like not just like the most stock shit, but like it's also just like they need to expand. I understand they don't want to undercut some of their other businesses, like Turner Classic Movies is like, if you put all that stuff on HBO Max, like that's going to undercut the channel of Turner.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, I don't know. HBO Max.
But it's also like you can have different things on at different times.
Well,
sure.
But the TCM Film Festival this year, the TCM Festival is a virtual festival that is going to be shown on TCM the channel and HBO Max.
Wow.
And Godfather, not Godfather, no. Oh crap.
Give me a hint here.
It's Scorsese.
Yeah.
Scorsese's introducing two of his movies.
His movies?
Yeah, his movies.
Are they mob movies or not?
They're mob movies.
So
They're
Goodfellas?
Goodfellas is one of them.
Casino?
I know that.
The Irishman?
It's not Casino. I'd have to look it up, but I know
Mean
he's
Streets?
introducing. It's not that. Anyway, but I know he's introducing.
There's
two
not
of
that
them.
many of the mob movies, despite like dumb Marvel fanboys think.
Hang on, let me look up the festival here.
I love any Scorsese introduction. I could listen to that guy talk forever.
Okay, here we go. Okay, you're right. It's Mean Streets. It's Goodfellas and Mean Streets.
I was gonna say, really, it's Mean Streets, Goodfellas, Casino, Gangs of New York, Departed, Irishman. So only
Irishman.
6 out of 30, and people act like he only made mob movies. It's clown behavior on people's part.
Classic.
Yep.
Even
So
like
anyway.
some of his most famous movies aren't mob movies, like Raging Bull and Taxi Driver. Not mob movies. Like, what are we even talking about?
Right,
Yep.
yeah, not at all.
I don't know why I'm mad at people from a year ago right now, like 2 years ago at this point. God, all these
Maria
Marvel
Bamford's
fanboy losers. All right.
Oh, wow, this actually sounds fun. What is SF Sketchfest? I don't know what
That's
the SF
San
for.
Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, they present a table read of Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space featuring Dana Gould, Maria Bamford, Bobcat Goldthwait, Oscar Nunez, Bob Odenkirk. I'm trying to... It's just like
Yes.
all great...
All
yeah, I
legends.
know.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I love
That'll be
Dana
good.
Gould when I came.
I love Maria Bamford.
Well,
so
obviously,
big,
like-
big
Maria.
Bamford fan.
Yeah, she's a legend. I just like Gould is like perfect for that kind of thing. He's a big Apes head, I love Gould for his Apes fandom. He does a great Dr. Zayas show on YouTube that's really funny. All right.
Yeah.
All right. This has gone far afield from Fortress, but Fortress, I recommend it.
Why is it called Fortress?
No clue why it's called Fortress. It's based on
it's like a mental fortress, you know. You have to
It's based on a novel called
guard
Fortress.
yourself against.
I wonder if there's
maybe it's in the novel.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a fortress in the novel. But yeah,
maybe.
All right. Well,
I guess
there is an actual fortress in the book we're going to talk about today, Vader's Fortress. So everybody,
segue.
Next week we should talk about what we're doing next week, which is complicated. But there's the book's called Kenobi's Blade, and we're going to watch the Sui Hark movie, The Blade, from 1995, which is a wuxia movie, which is the audience. If you want to buy a Warner Archive DVD, go ahead. That's the only way to watch it legally. So I will be bringing the DVD down to your neck of the woods, and we'll be watching the film together and then discussing it next week. So next week's episode may be slightly late because we're doing it on Thursday, so I don't know if I'm going to feel like editing when I get home. So...
Well, you will have very little editing because we'll be in person. This would be the first time
it's the video. YouTube listeners, especially, you might have to wait till the next day.
Okay.
Because I don't want to make the video because that takes an hour basically, all told.
Right.
To export the video and then upload it takes so. But the podcast might be up at its normal time. I don't know, but. Give us the day on Friday is my point, because I may just be tired when I get home and want to go to bed.
Yeah, you got a long drive.
Don't send any nasty tweets or emails, everyone. Just give our boys some time.
So when we get back, we'll be talking about Vader's Fortress.
Vader's Fortress.
So
stay tuned.
Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Peretic.
Hello.
And with Mel Lyon.
Hello!
For Book 5 of Junior Jedi Knights, Vader's Fortress. So
written by Rebecca Moesta.
Oh yeah, we got big news from this, right? Because last week we were saying that Rebecca Moesta did not give enough proper thanks to Nancy Richardson, who wrote the first 3 books in the series.
But now, oh boy, the acknowledgments.
Yeah, we have a whole acknowledgments page in this book, which the last book was, of course, dedicated to her husband, Timothy Zahn.
Not this Timothy Zahn. Kevin J. Anderson.
Oh, Kevin J. Anderson. Okay, never mind. It doesn't. Okay.
But she does thank Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, he gets a thank you in this book.
And Dave Wolverton.
Oh, Dave Wolverton gets a shout out in there.
I looked at this. It's literally everybody that wrote Star Wars books in the 90s, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has. Okay, here. Acknowledgements. Thank you to Lily E. Mitchell for her tireless enthusiasm in transcribing my dictation. Katie Tree, Catherine Woltowski, and Angela Cato at Wordfire Inc. for their help in keeping my work flowing. Lucy Wilson of Lucasfilm for having faith in me. And Sue Rostoni of Lucasfilm for her many helpful suggestions. Steve Sansweet and Alan Karsh at Lucasfilm for their encouragement, Bill Smith and West End Games for their wonderful resource materials, Dave Dorman and Eric Lee for their inspired artwork. Who's Dave Dorman? Eric Lee is the artist on these covers.
Well, Dave Dorman, I feel like did comic book covers around this time.
Okay, all right. Richard Curtis for his assistance in my writing career.
Richard Curtis, like the writer of Four Weddings and a Funeral, and
perhaps.
I'm sure it's a different Richard Curtis.
Ginger Buchanan at Berkeley Boulevard for her wholehearted support and patience. John McGregor Cowan for being my enthusiastic assistant and test reader, and Kevin J. Anderson for always being my honest cheerleader, coach, and inspiration. A heartfelt thanks to the following people for paving a way for their many useful discussions: Kevin J. Anderson, Nancy Richardson, Roger McBride Allen, A.C. Crispin, Barbara Hambley, Richard P. Q. McDowell, Vonda McIntyre, that's it. Steve Perry, Christian Catherine Rush, Michael A. Sackpole, Kathy Tears, Dave Wolverton, and Timothy Zahn.
Okay, well, at least 50% of those names were pronounced correctly. So.
Yeah, more than that, to be fair.
But
I'm glad she gave
shouting out.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the one thing about this 90s EU universe is that it definitely feels like there was a pretty substantially collaborative vibe between a lot of the writers. They at least shared, notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, pretty, that's why it feels pretty cohesive for the most part. And some of those writers wrote very good Star Wars books. So,
and these characters in this book too was something we don't really deal with this element of the old expanded universe. Is that a lot of these characters that we deal with go on to be featured characters prominently in Star Wars fiction later on. So,
or even how they always reference oh, Jason, my brother Jason is so good with animals and stuff like that.
Yeah, so they're very much part of the Legends lore. So they're very entwined with that. So
yeah, so
it's something the current EU doesn't have.
I mean, they'll hopefully build now that the big movies are done. Hopefully that'll be a little more built up, but. Where they don't have to work around as much, hopefully. But anyway,
well, they should have worked not more around, but just more in, because we didn't need the Abrams box mystery bullshit. We got,
we got to talk about this every week. Okay, all right. This book. So this book kind of hits the ground running with its premise. A lot of the other ones in this series have kind of had a lot of little dawdling at the Academy for a while, but this one kind of jumps into it, where Anakin and Tahiri and what's the teen again? What's his name?
Older. No, it's probably Oldir, maybe.
Oldir.
Ulcer, older.
Oldar.
Anyway.
Oldar,
like Goldar from Power Rangers.
Yes.
Yes.
That's. I don't have the book in front of me because I was not going to pay $50 for it, so I can't read a passage, but I would love to do the Goldar voice for him from now on.
Okay.
All right, so. They're all there with Tion, right? And Tion, who is the lieutenant basically at the academy, and so how does this get brought up? I'm trying to remember.
Okay, well,
she comes back with a new ship, and it's all sustainable and secondhand and solar powered.
The lore seeker. I don't think it's any of those things.
It is.
It's an older ship.
So it's it's repurposed.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
And they mentioned the solar things.
Okay, all right. Anyway, she comes back with some Jedi treasures, some songs. She finds some Jedi songs.
Oh yeah, and the funniest part of this is that she got the ship. She said, "Oh, I got this ship for a song," which is an old-fashioned expression saying you got a good deal on it. And she was like, "No, I mean literally a song. I was singing an old Jedi song, and the dealer was just like, teach me that song, and the ship is yours." But
so that's how she gets the ship, but she also has a lead on something. She has to tell Master Luke immediately. She has a lead on Oldar at this point. He is in the last book. He was like, what makes a Jedi? A robe, of course. And as soon as I get a robe, I am wearing it all the time. And by the start of this book, he is in his Jedi robe.
And there's even a thing where Anakin thought Anakin thought it was funny that he thought it would make him a Jedi. Basically, Anakin's just making fun of him in his head.
Yeah, orange jumpsuits are what make a Jedi. Come on.
Good lord.
Luke is like, I felt most like a Jedi when I was in my orange tracksuit from being an X-Wing pilot. That is when I felt
That's the school uniform now.
Yeah, he is like, everybody will feel like a Jedi when they wear this now. Anyway, she has a lead on Kenobi's blade. Ben Kenobi's blade, apparently Vader, he picked it up after Obi-Wan vanished, and he took it with him, and it survived the destruction of the Death Star. So that's, basically, she's like, so I need to get, and it's at Vader's fortress, where it's at, and Luke has apparently been to the fortress before, didn't see said lightsaber, but he said, alright, you should probably go back and get said lightsaber, though. And then the children, of course, they're like, well, we want to go along, and Luke can't refuse anybody. Luke is like, well, of course you guys can go, so they all decide to go, and of course, Ikrit's coming as well.
So, they're all going, Luke, I wish Luke would ever go on one of these.
Luke needs to go on these adventures.
He's just like, I'm busy, like, I gotta go back to the Senate, Leia's calling me, like...
Right, yeah. Yes.
I'm just gonna let my grandson, who has, like... Not grandson, my nephew, who has all these, like, this complex about being named after his grandfather, go to his grandfather's old fortress.
He'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah, because that's like one of Anakin, he's just like, ooh, I can see Grandpa's house. Like, we're going to Grandpa's house.
So weird. Alright, so they head there, and the planet is mostly empty, deserted.
Vajun,
I think is how I said it in the intro when I recorded that. So they, they get there and there's a big storm and they have to get through the storm and then they have to climb a bunch of, they have to like go. They have to travel to the fortress, like, on foot. They have to climb a bunch of stairs.
Yeah.
And then it starts sleeting. And
there's space sleet.
There is space sleet. And then Tahiri's like, oh, I better put my shoes on.
I guess I gotta put my shoes on. She seemed to get over her hatred of shoes in the previous book, but in this book she's just, like, had to be, like, the worst weather conditions had to happen before she was willing to put the shoes on.
Right.
So, she puts her shoes on. She also gets mostly shoe material in this book.
Yeah, right. There's something that happens later that I find very funny that she does, but we'll get to that when we get there.
They get ultimately they get to the fortress and they're looking around and they look in a bunch of different places. And
well, don't forget about the lasers,
beam right?
Yeah, they walk in and they're attacked by laser beams, not blasters. Anakin is like, these are lasers.
Yeah, like it's like an automated system.
Now, we're also, too, Anakin has a force power that few have.
Oh, this is ridiculous!
And that he can take any mechanical object and tell you that if it is a sound object or not, or if there is something wrong with the object.
Like, what does this have to do with the Force? Like,
like
these are mechanical objects, not even droids, which we can talk about if they're living things or not or whatever. But these are
like ships,
like non-sentient beings that he somehow like is able to sense if it's working perfectly.
Because he did this last week with Puckham's ship.
I remember now.
Like,
right?
Yeah. But
so
now
weird.
It's like a power that he has.
So strange.
But his special Force gift. There's a lot of like Force gifts. In this, like, book.
But they have to shut down the laser beams. R2 gets shot during this.
Which is on the cover.
Yeah, R2 gets shot in the leg, and on the cover there is a laser beam that sort of goes through
which I like
R2's leg.
Yeah, and basically, like, they have to, like, help him move around. There's a whole thing before he gets shot in the leg when they're climbing the stairs where he can't climb the stairs. This is obviously before we knew that he had jetpacks in his
well, those were recalled.
Yeah, those were recalled in the old canon. Those were recalled at some point and removed.
That's true. Although I feel like they would have been put back in post Jedi at some point, maybe. But
Well,
Maybe.
Luke just never knew.
Yeah. But he did get some new stuff, like a reflector thing. And
yeah, because Luke is meditating
at
at the beginning of this book, and he is cleaning R2. R2 is part of the meditation process. It's like it's like a scheduled cleaning of R2. But anyway, R2 gets shot, and this is where Older actually does something great here, is that he is a droid expert, because his parents are pilots, and he is able to look at R2 and diagnose that R2 is going to be okay, he's just got a limp leg, he's not going to be able to climb stairs. And I think you were getting at this, Ykrit was riding R2 up the stairs, and anytime R2, because it got sleety, it got slippery, Ykrit used the Force to help R2 up the stairs, so Ykrit is Lord.
Ykrit's great.
And he's just like a cat on a Roomba. Like, he's just always like, of course I'm going to ride this thing. I'm not going to walk around.
And Older is like still being rude as hell to Ykrit constantly. Mm-hmm. Well, because they actually go on this mission. Luke hasn't told Tion yet that Ykrit is a Jedi Master, and that's revealed on the journey. We skipped over that. But basically, Old Ear is like laughing at Ykrit still, just like this clown thinks he's a Jedi Master, and like everyone's just like, oh, Old Ear, come on, chill the fuck out, dude. But so anyway, they're in the fortress, they're looking around, they actually find the Kenobi's lightsaber pretty easly, but as soon as they find it,
dun dun dun.
This is okay. Here we go. What's this guy's name again?
Olcor.
He is the
something the mage.
He is the mage of Exis Station, and his name is Orlok. Mage Orlok.
Which is really like the first villain in this series of books, right?
Yeah, I mean, to whatever extent you want to call him like a serious villain, but
there's like antagonist, I guess, even though like the spider was probably more of an antagonist than this dude.
Yeah, Orlok, the mage of Exis Station. What an incredible name.
Yeah. Does he just, come right out and tell everyone that he's, a magician?
Yeah.
Yeah, he introduces himself as the mage.
Right. Well, that's not necessarily a magician. Anyway. And then
he introduces himself that way, and then somebody's like, what, like a magician? And he's just like, yeah, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, and Tahiri is immediately like, magic's not real. She's that kid.
I also think it's weird that, well, I mean, obviously he's like a magician, like our world magician, like an illusionist, which is weird. The fact that it's just funny. Not that they exist, whatever. Entertainment's entertainment, but I just I'm just surprised that I don't know. It's just very funny. Magic's not real. Anyway,
but it's just that he would be a magician and then also be I should go to this fortress and try to steal this stuff.
Well, yeah, he was waiting for them to do it for him.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's how long?
And he set up all these illusions, basically. I imagine he got the same tip that Tion did around the same time. Maybe he knew that she got the tip.
She mentioned that would be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. Tahiri's really funny here, because she's just like, are you going to kill us at one point? And everybody in the room goes silent,
So he's basically, he sets up all these illusions around, around the fortress, including, fake hallways, hollow projected hallways, hollow projected beasties, you know. Mm-hmm. And so he takes the lightsaber. He's able to get it through some trickery.
He just takes it right out of Tion's hand,
which is weird. Tion should be able to avoid that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or Ykrit should have done something immediately, but instead the two of them fall through a trapdoor and they get separated from the.
And they're deep within the bowels of the fortress, so the children have to essentially escape Orlok while looking for Tion and Ykrit, basically. Mm-hmm. they're running around. They're split up into two groups. It's R2 and Uldir and Anakin and Tahiri. And Anakin and Tahiri wind up in Vader's office, basically, and they find a holocron without knowing what it is.
What do they call it? His private quarters.
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
This is his bedroom, I guess, because they talk about some sort of chamber that he would have slept in. But this is an interesting moment where Anakin is just like, weird. Maybe my grandfather wasn't all of that bad, because they find a hand projected hologram or something, and they open it, and it's a hologram of Luke, and they're just like, did Vader just sit here and look at Luke? Like,
my mom in her office has holograms of me and Jaina and Jason, so... And it's like, I think he had the hologram because he was hunting Luke down. But wanted to, like, show it to people, be like, you seen this guy? You know? Anyway, so... They also find a holocron. They don't know what it is.
He was a proud papa. Come on.
I feel like if he really wanted to find Luke, it would not have been that hard.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. I actually am fine with this sentiment-wise. I just think it's a funny image that he's just like, the picture of my boy, you know. That's all I like.
That's how Anakin reads it, in my opinion. Is Anakin reads it as like, oh, he was just a proud papa.
That's all I object to. It's not that I actually agree that like if Vader really wanted to take out Luke, he had plenty of opportunity to do so, and he, I think, consciously was avoiding doing it, or subconsciously avoiding it, I should say. But because there was some part of him obviously still there, so. And so basically, I'm trying to remember exactly the sequence of events here because
Older finds
Mage he finds the mage, yes, and they have like their weird exchange.
And Orlok basically tries to seduce him to the mage side, is what I have written in my notes.
Basically, like, there's an easier path. You can, like, pretend like you have the Force, like, by doing illusions, basically. Like, and it's like, it's still all, like, the dark side talk, basically. But, like, because it's not the Force, it's not the dark side.
Yeah, no.
And he's basically like, well, I got this lightsaber, like, I can teach you how to use a lightsaber, or at least fool people into thinking you know how to use a lightsaber. And then there's the Sith holocron, not Sith, I'm sorry, the holocron that is around here somewhere too. And, like, we can learn about the Jedi from that. Like, you don't need the Jedi Academy. He tries to get him to come back with him to what's it called, Exis Station.
Yeah.
And so, and Uldir seems very tempted by this, but ultimately rejects the offer.
Yeah, I know. This is a very funny scene to me. So, but then that results in Tahiri and Anakin are like above them because they're in this big room. They throw some sort of a distraction Orlok's way, and then Ikrit and Tion, they end up joining this, and together they are able to get the lightsaber back from the Mage of Exis Station, Orlok, and and he escapes. So, and that's the end. They go back to the temple, and they give Luke the lightsaber and the holocron. The holocron contains the teachings of Nomi Sunrider. Oh wait, no, never mind.
It doesn't. They reference Nomi Sunrider, who's from. I've actually read this comic from.
Ikrit's like dark past.
Yeah.
Right.
No. She's a good person. She's an old Jedi from the Tales of the Jedi comic book, which was published in the mid-90s and is kind of the original version of the Old Republic.
Right.
Which it was kind of retconned with the video game later and stuff. But, like, basically, Nomi Sunrider, I haven't read this in a while, but, like, she's basically, like, a early Jedi hero, she doesn't use a lightsaber. That's a big thing.
Oh, okay.
Which comes up because there was a lesson earlier on the ship about lightsabers, and we found out Ikrit never used a lightsaber.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is you want to tell the story?
No, because I don't really remember it. But, like, something happened
Ikarit basically said that
he almost killed
in a fight with a friend and nearly killed the person with his lightsaber, and Yoda risked his life to stop him. He says Yoda risked his life, and from that point, Ikarit said, "I'm never touching a lightsaber again." So
Yoda is such a king. It's incredible.
I agree. I agree. But the reason Nomi is brought up is because they find a ship that is Ikarit is like, I could pilot that, and Anakin's just like, I can sense the ship. It is sound. It works. So Ikarit gets a ship, and he names it the Sunrider.
That all happens in the end. We got to get through. This other stuff.
But the holocron contains the teachings of Asli Crimsan.
Who seems to be teaching younglings. It doesn't seem like actually like it's like a particularly notable thing, and this seems to piss off Old Deer. He's like, this is some baby shit. Like,
he literally calls it, baby stuff.
So, yeah, and then there's, I don't know. There's basically, then the mage is like, tries to get it, and then he pulls out his the Kenobi's lightsaber that he stole, and like tries to wield it, and then Tion shows up and is like, I actually know how to use one of these, and she turns on her lightsaber and like scares him, and he falls down the same pit that Tion and Ikarit had fallen down, so he doesn't die, but like it's gonna take a while for him to get out of there. And as he's falling down, he drops Kenobi's lightsaber, and Old Deer himself is able to catch it, and it makes him feel good about himself. So, and then they take one of the ships from Vader's fortress, and so they can avoid all those stairs, all these terrible stairs.
Yeah, Tahiri hates stairs. Like, that's
because she hates wearing shoes so bad, and like these sharp-edged stone steps aren't good for her barefoot ways, I guess. I don't know. And
I wonder if that continued in her whole storyline.
Like when she's in adult novels.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. And then they get back did we mention that Tion's new ship is called the Lore Finder?
Lore Seeker,
or the Lore Seeker, because she loves stories. She's always looking for lore.
She's always seeking that lore.
She's always like plumbing the depths of Wikipedia. You know what I mean? She's all about the lore, baby. so anyway, they get back to the Lore Seeker, and they all return to the Jedi Temple in both ships. Luke is surprised by the new ship. He's like, Ikarit, my guy, I'm glad you got your own ship. I'm so happy for you. And he's like, let's go back in the temple. And they're like, can we take the turbo lift?
Yes.
We had enough stairs for today.
Yeah. Tahiri giggled. I think we've all had enough stairs in the past few days. Enough to last us a long, long time, she said.
That's how the book ends.
That's how it ends. That's the note it ends.
That's how the book ends.
Oh, great joke. That's a great end of a G.I. Joe episode. Everybody shut up.
Yeah, exactly. No, it really is kind of like that Saturday morning cartoon episode, because there's like 2 new ships you can buy now, you know?
True.
2 new action figures. Oh, and the villain action figure, I guess.
The mage.
The mage
is Orlak is a ridiculous character. I wonder if he'll come back in the last book.
I think he's the one who's on the cover of the Kenobi's Blade.
All right, that's interesting. We'll see. We'll see if I find him more compelling next time. I find him to be absurd as a character.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's David it's David Copperfield, like basically as a Star Wars villain. Very weird, but in general, I like this book. I think it's a step down from the previous book.
I agree.
Basically, I found some of the character stuff really compelling, although I feel like Tahiri really needs some love. These last 2 books have been all about her shoes.
Yeah.
All about shoes and stairs for her, so I feel like she needs like a good strong note to close the series out on. I don't know if this series like was meant to end with 6 or if they canceled it. It does not feel like we're building to some sort of ending, really, to me.
Not really.
I mean, but these books are a little more episodic, generally.
Uh-huh.
But it's kind of similar to what we talked about with Galaxy of Fear, where the story wrapped up, like, 2/3 of the way through, and then there's just a bunch of... I actually think these books have been stronger than the Nancy Richardson books, but there was an arc to those 3 books, and these 2 feel like kind of standalone stories so far.
Yep.
And I imagine... Although, I guess if Orlac comes back, that'll be kind of a arc-ish situation. Anyway.
We'll have to make a list of villains when we're all said and done. We're gonna have to do a Padawan library draft.
Yeah, you got it, or like a matchup thing.
Like a Legion of Doom for
yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be a lot of fun. I guess I didn't give this a rating. I went 8 last week, so I gotta go lower. So I'm gonna go 7 on this. I think it's entertaining. I like the series. I'm invested in the characters, but I didn't think this was the strongest entry.
Go ahead.
This book made me laugh out loud a lot, which I didn't actually, like, write down the moments that did or whatever, but it did. It made me, like... I read these books in my car, like, on my lunch break, and I was sitting there today just, like, cracking up reading this book, because Older is so funny.
He's
like, a lot of the internal stuff is,
I wonder if he
sticks
around... After this, don't look it up now. We'll look it up next week.
Okay.
Yeah, after the series ends or whatever, we'll have to see. Yeah, what everybody's up to. I don't remember what I rated the last one, but I'm gonna give this one a 10.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Wow, I gave the last book a 10.
Yeah, you did.
And that was me being generous. And then this week, I have to agree with you, Tim. This is like a huge step down in my opinion. So I was gonna say 6. I was gonna go harder than you this week because, I didn't think this. I felt this book was very slight. I felt like Vader's fortress was kind of goofy. I wanted Vader's Granted, we know about Anakin Skywalker now, but like the fact that they like walk in and there's a toppled statue of Darth Vader, it seems so goofy to me that Anakin would have a statue of himself as Vader, built like when he walked in this place.
I know we know. Sure, we know more about Anakin like pre-Vader now than they did with this book, but that doesn't square with what we know about Vader in the original movies at all, to me.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't think he was even then like a super huge fan of like
himself
being Darth Vader specifically.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he'd be self-worshipping like that. So that's what I felt like the fortress was a little goofy. I'd hoped the fortress was a little more, but what can you do? It's not Vader's castle on Mustafar, so obviously...
Sure. It's the Bast Castle.
It is Bast Castle,
it's called
by
Bast
the way.
Castle, we forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah.
6, 7 for me, 10 for Mel. That's fine. Next week, we're wrapping the series up with Kenobi's Blade, and we're also going to discuss Sui Hark's The Blade. So... At least look at the Wikipedia page for that movie. I'm not sure you'll be able to watch it very easily, but... What's up?
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm looking at all the appearances of Bast Castle. Bast Castle is in the Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, Dark Empire 2, number 6.
Okay. I remember
Empire's
that now.
End, number 1.
Oh,
Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and these 2 Kenobi's Blade in this book.
I want to give a correction from last week. Quick, I said that they referred to the scene with Leia and Palpatine from Dark Empire. It's actually from Empire's End, which is the 3rd
oh my god
miniseries of Dark Empire, which was really bad, like very bad, like 2-issue miniseries to wrap up like this trilogy when the first 2 miniseries were like 6 issues, so it's just a disaster. But anyway.
And also, there is a whole thing on the statue, the Vader statue on the Wikipedia page, so I'll just bring up for those who want to know, this statue was not erected by Vader, but by military executor Cedrus QL is the person who erected the statue, so in case you people wanted to know... that's who did it, not Vader.
6 meters tall.
Yeah, that character. He's 6 meters tall. He's
the statue is 6 meters tall.
Yeah.
So
see, apparently this character is a Dark Empire character. So.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I haven't read that in many years, but anyway, so yeah, next week we're wrapping the series up and we're going to talk about The Blade, not Blade, The Blade. Sui Hark movie, Hong Kong, wuxia joint. Excited to watch that. I've never seen it.
All right.
So we'll all be watching it for the first time together.
Nice.
So that's what we're doing next week. Until then.
Until the books are due back.
Bye, Padawans.
The library is closed.
Yay.
Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2021. Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.